own people, we're finding the change of attitude. Within our own people, we're finding oppression. So what do we begin to do about it? Without going into long stories, we look at, for example, the kinds of numbers. What worries me is the numbers. Because we look at 1 million here and 1 million there, and we think this is a little bit of money. We did one development down in next to San Lemire that was worth 1.4 billion rands. When we did the Masakane claim and we spoke to Development Bank, the development values of their claim is 600 billion rands, without counting all the others. Now we sit here, our people here haven't got bread. Some of them haven't got bus fare to come to these places. When they come to these places, they go home, they've got no food. Now, but there's land that's sitting there worth 1.5 billion rands. The entire project is worth 600 billion rand, and that's only one claim. Now that worries us. On the other hand, on Penjati down the other side, there's a development that took place illegitimately. Someone signed the documents fraudulently. They made a development that has 150 units at 1.5 million rands each. You're looking about 300 million rands that went there, and the communities are starving. Now we ask, who do we go to? Who's culpable? What is the solution? Today, I thought instead of us crying all the time, because I've been to a number of meetings, the land claims meetings, because I'm involved in land claims, Northern Cape, Western Cape, Coxted, and even here in KZN. Why? Because politically and ideologically, I believe we want our country back. When we say Izwe letu, we must mean it. We mustn't just talk because we're here and we get food. We must say it because we mean it. And we can build this country. Like here's Mr. Pinar. Mr. Pinar is coming forward. He's a willing man, willing to sell something. And we are not here. We're frustrating the process by messing around on our end. Yet if we build, if we can meet him halfway, and he can meet us halfway, and the communities can meet us halfway, and the officials can meet us halfway, we can solve this problem, we can build our country. I love my country. And I'd love us all to love our country. And if we're serious about it, here's a proposal. For us, we're saying, here's a proposal, sir, for your perusal. We are saying, the first thing that needs to happen, there needs to be an audit. An audit of all the claims that were done in the Masakane area and all the other areas that we know of. From that audit, we begin to see what do we need to do. Does there need to be redress? For example, if there has been fraud there, how do the people get compensated? Because it's good and nice to come and say we've been robbed, but at the end of the day, you still don't have food in your house. So how do we begin to address that? If we find, for example, that development there where someone is sitting with 300 million rand on community land and the community hasn't benefited, should those people get away with it? Masnenge, for example, there was a claim, and what happened is there was collusion. The same thing that was outlined here, there was collusion whereby false beneficiaries were put into the claim. They got money, and no one, and the true and the right beneficiaries never got the money. So now we have to say, do we come here and complain about it and go home? Or do we fix it? And I think for us, the solution today, we should talk about fixing. We mustn't talk about crying. I don't want to lament. I don't want to come back here and have another meeting. We talk about meetings, like talks about talks. We must have solutions. Today, if there's a resolution, there has to be a political will, number one. Someone has to stand up and say, we are responsible, we messed up. Then we've got to say, how do we fix the mess up? How do we begin to fix it? Then one begins to ask, who fixes it? And then the last question is, what form does the fixing take? Do the original beneficiaries get their money? Do those who stole the money get prosecuted? Does that money get recovered? If those claims were fraudulent claims on the side of land claims, then obviously that has to be revisited in a court of law. We can't argue and say because it's gone through the process, fraudulently, we accept it and walk away. I think we can't do that. None of us can do that. I've been, in the time that I've been here in this process, I've lost friends, I've lost comrades, I've lost people we worked with, they died. Their children still haven't gotten their land back. Their children haven't got the benefits of their land. And what are we doing? I mean, at the end of the day, we're all sitting here constructively building our nation. And the only way we'll do that is if the department comes to the party. The farmers come to the party. We come to the party and we begin to plan. Not only plan, but implement. And I think I've given a suggestion here. There's a document. If you look at that document, it says we need to do an audit. We can do an audit. But we don't have resources. I can't go to the community. We need to do an audit.